Okay, so we are going to go through, and I want you guys to try and solve these by yourself. I am aware that this is something new, okay, but I want you guys to practice these to try and do it on your own. I am going to explain how to solve these. I want you to go, pause it while you're trying to go. If you get stuck, start it. Have it remind you of a step. Once it reminds you of a step, stop it, and then we'll go again. Okay? So try and get through this on your own. All right? Now, first thing, before I can get started on this, a couple things. I have to make sure that there's a 1 in front of my squared term. I also have to make sure it's in my standard form. Okay? So when I'm going through this, my first step, minus 4x, minus 5, minus 4x, minus 5. Okay? X squared minus 4x. And then minus 5 equals 0. Okay, some of you guys are going to look at that and you're going to say, oh, I can factor that. Yes, I know. I've started out with ones that you can factor because the ones that you can factor are going to be easier for you guys to do. So, practice your completing the squared. Don't just factor. Okay? So, x squared minus 4x minus 5 equals 0. Okay. First thing I need to do, I've got to move the constant term over so that I have a space. Okay, I want to have a space there so I can plug in my magic number. So I need to add 5. When I do that, I get x squared minus 4x, leave a space for your magic number, equals a positive 5. Okay? Now, to find my magic number, I'm going to take my middle term, which is my negative 4. And I'm going to take negative 4 divided by 2. And negative 4 divided by 2 gives me a negative 2. After I divide it by negative 2, I'm going to square it. And negative 2 squared gives me a positive 4. Positive 4 is our magic number. Okay? So I'm going to add my magic number into the spot. And I've added that magic number into that spot because that has now forced this to factor into an x something squared. So my magic number, I created this magic number, plugged it in here so that this would factor into an x something squared. So what goes in this spot there? Well, it's not our magic number, but it is our secret number. So x minus 2 squared equals, okay? Magic number, we found that goes in here. Secret number, that's what goes in the parentheses with your x. Okay, now, I know that we're performing magic, but we do still have to follow the laws of physics, science, whatever. If I add 4 on this side of an equation, I would also have to add 4 on this side as well. So I end up with x minus 2 squared equals 5 plus 4, which 5 plus 4 is 9. Okay, now, I'm ready to solve this thing. So now I just need a square root to get rid of that squared. Square root will get rid of that squared. I have to square root this side as well. So I end up with x minus 2 equals, a lot of you guys are going to say 3, but it's not just a 3. You are correct, it's a 3, but it is a plus or a minus 3. So I've got x minus 2 equals plus or minus 3. Now, when we get to this point, plus or minus means literally a positive 3 or a negative 3. So I'm going to set up two equations. X minus 2 equals a positive 3, and x minus 2 equals a negative 3. I'm going to add 2 to both sides of the equation. That gives me an x equals 5. And then I am going to add 2 to both sides of the equation. When I do that, that gives me an x equals negative 1. And those are my two answers. Okay? So, that's example 1. Okay? If you had to listen through example 1, again, try and start and stop this. Try and start and stop this one so that you guys can get this figured out. Okay? Alright, now on this one, I've got x squared plus 2x equals 15. Okay? A lot of you on that last one probably were looking at it and were like, why do I have to subtract the 5 over and then add it right back over? You really don't. What I need you to do is I need you to make sure, one, that there's nothing in front of here, and then you need to make sure you have just an x squared, just an x, and just a constant. Okay? If you guys had something like a minus 3x over here, we would need to get that minus 3x over here in order to make that work. Okay? So really, at this spot here, You really don't need to move anything around. You can probably look at it and see, yeah, that's its standard form. So all I need to do is leave that space so that I can find my magic number. Now remember, the rules for finding your magic number are the same every single time. Divide by 2 and then you square it. Divide by 2 and then you square it. Okay? So I'm going to take my middle term. My middle term is at positive 2. 2 divided by 2. Well, 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. And that's a positive 1. Then I got to square it. 1 squared gives me 1. This right here is the magic number. Okay? So I'm plugging in my magic number right there. Now remember, that magic number, I came up with that magic number so that it would force it into factor into x something squared. What is the something that needs to go in there? That'd be my secret number, which is a positive 1, right? Positive 1 is going to go in there. Okay? Now, I've got x plus 1. Okay, remember, if I add 1 on the left side, I do still have to add 1 on the right side as well. So I get x plus 1 squared equals 16. Okay, that's actually the completing the square step. Okay, that part right there is the completing the square step. The rest of this is just solving an equation. So get rid of the squared. Cancel, cancel. Got to square root the other side as well. I end up with x plus 1 equals not just a 4. Yes, it's a positive 4, but it could also be a negative 4. X plus 1 equals a plus or minus 4. Set up my two equations. X plus 1 equals a positive 4. X plus 1 equals a negative 4. I would need to subtract 1 on both sides there. That gives me an x equals 3. I would need to subtract 1. That would give me an x equals negative 5. Okay, and that is how we do our completing the square. Now, for the on your own, there are two problems on there. If you are doing this and you're like, I am really unsure, do this first one. If you're still confused, do this first one. First one is going to be easier. Okay? If you feel like you want to challenge yourself a little bit, you can try this bottom one here. This bottom one is going to be a little bit trickier. Okay, this bottom one's going to have actually some fractions in it. Okay, you still end up getting just two answers like normal. However, you're really going to have to pay attention to this magic and secret number here because you're going to have some fractions involved with it while you do it. Okay, so if you'd like a challenge, try the bottom one. If you want to just stick with something easier, do the top one there. Okay.